What's been knobbing on your radar?
I don't know, knob. What's on your radar?
I was thinking of scientism. You were talking about that before earlier, right?
No kidding. I was talking about scientism because I saw this great documentary on YouTube about C.S. Lewis, and he was talking about scientism back when, and that was one of his biggest fears, to be honest.
What do you mean by scientism?
Scientism, like the religion of science, like, oh my God, science is a religion. We have to believe, like, wholeheartedly. And it's gone out of hand, and I think that's what's the main problem today is, like, there's too much scientism.
People confuse science and religion, right?
That's right, yeah.
Like believe the experts kind of thing.
That's right. So only the few experts, or there's like a distortion of science and its methodology, and there's, when you start censoring other scientists and you start censoring the dialogue or the questioning or the skepticism of science, that's when we have a big problem. And I think that's what's knobbing on my radar right now, really bad.
That is good.
Really bad. But we do have a clip though from that documentary on YouTube.
Great doc.
And there'll be links as well in the bottom of the video for you to look at. So check that out. The documentary by C.S. Lewis. We also have another clip by a scientist himself, Carl Sagan.
Yeah.
So here's that clip right now, and we'll just join right into it right now. Look at this. Check it out.
Causes.
Lewis thought that science was a perfectly legitimate enterprise. He never denied it. He in fact studied it quite a bit.
He never, so far as I know, attacked science itself. What he attacked was scientism, this idea that the method, or the methods really, of natural science should be the bar by which every other intellectual discipline must be held.
Just like in all human disciplines, Lewis thought that science could be corrupted, and that some people could pursue science because they wanted power over the world, and power over other people in particular.
And I think what he saw was that you had to avoid those extremes in the not only in the employment of science, but in the popularization of it. You could not afford to ignore the finding of science, the importance of scientific method. You had to see that it's one of the greatest applications and developments of the rational method per se, a subset of the rational method. But that it was very dangerous, and that in the 20th century it had had very malignant consequences to deify it. Scientific socialism is credibly a scientific version of politics. The Marxists called their system scientific socialism. Well, no one in his right mind in 2012 will say that Marxism was scientific. No one in his right mind, but people did for 150 years, 170 years.
Modern science brings us good things. Many things, from the microwave oven to the computers to life-saving treatments of modern medicine, which Lewis certainly appreciated. But on the other hand, that tendency to want to control things can bring us the Orwellian state of George Orwell's 1984. And so Lewis thought that modern science, in fact, was far more dangerous than magic, because magic failed. Magic doesn't work at the end of the day. And so it wasn't so dangerous because people actually couldn't use it to control the world. Modern science has the potential that you really can control people. If you find the right drugs or find the right treatments, you can manipulate them. And so if you don't have some other way of protecting and limiting what you do in the name of science, some ethical basis that isn't dictated by science itself that can control it, then you are facing a really bleak future.
In the 2 decades before his death, Lewis became increasingly alarmed by the rise of scientific authoritarianism.
Lewis was very concerned by the dogmatic use of science, and that is why he wrote his novel That Hideous Strength. That is why he wrote his book The Abolition of Man, where he actually worries and somewhat sort of predicts the rise of a new class of people, of experts speaking in the name of science, who would dictate to everyone else. In fact, by the end of his life, Lewis was worrying about the rise of what he called scientocracy, government and society that claims to be based on the claims of modern science, but in reality really is based on a scientific clique of a few people who are speaking in the name of science. And maybe they are adopting the majority view of science, but they're claiming the right to rule based on their scientific knowledge and expertise.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. That was a great clip from C.S. Lewis from his documentary. Let's give a big applause for that. There's no applause. Yay.
There we go. Yes. Thank you for watching and stick around.
Yeah, stick around.
It's out of
applause.
Oh, here we go. The applause. Yay!
C.S. Lewis on
Papa's got a brand new bag.
That was a great documentary. You can find it on YouTube. Look for the links below on the YouTube video for the full documentary, and it's much more detailed than what I just put the clips there together. But wasn't that cool?
Yeah.
Isn't that like
he had a point.
He had a great point because C.S. Lewis was really afraid. He was afraid of science. Not afraid of science as a mechanism, as its wonders and greatness and what it can do, but in the wrong hands, what science can do, and science and power.
Right.
And I think, and his biggest fear was that when government and science would come together and then use it to enslave the masses.